Hello my friends and welcome back to EVE Online with me, Mark from Dadex, and we're in this lovely wormhole here admiring the view because you do see some nice interesting things in wormholes. In fact, that's the thumbnail taken care of right there. There are various effects in wormholes. Not every wormhole system has an effect. This one does, and that's what you're seeing represented on screen down there under the sun. We had that black hole system we were in that had some effects, and today we have a cataclysmic variable, and it's got a lovely visual effect around it. This icon right here, we just hover over it, it'll open up. It's telling us we're in a class 2 wormhole with a cataclysmic variable effect. It's a bit of an odd one because you actually get a bonus of 44% to remote reps, both armor and shield, and a 44% bonus to your capacitor capacity. But there's a 22% penalty to capacitor recharge, 22% penalty to capacitor transmission effectiveness, and a 22% penalty to local armor repairer and shield booster effectiveness. So not a place to maybe get fighty in a solo ship, but you could certainly have some interesting fleet opportunities if you've got your Logi with you. And if you're ever going to live in a wormhole and playing to the bonuses, or certainly bearing in mind the penalties of that type of wormhole if it has an effect in it, is very important. We lived in that Wolf Rayat wormhole and that had a really good effect. That was a bonus to small weapons damage, and that meant that destroyers, Hecates with blasters, 3 or 4 of them could really punch above their weight damage wise. The penalty in that system was shield resists, so armor hit points had a bonus, small damage had a bonus, and your signature radius had a reduction, which is a bonus for you. So yeah, a small ship with small weapons and an armor tank could really hit hard. Other effects are red giants. You got smart bomb and bomb bonus damages there, so watch out if you don't mine in one of those. But for full details, I will direct you yet again to the EVE Uni web pages, where they have a comprehensive guide to wormholes, the effects, the types, etc, etc. Have a look there at your leisure. There's me blowing up another box, but it wasn't a very valuable box, and these things do happen. I'm admiring the view. I'm quite enjoying it in here. And if you just take a quick look down in my bookmark window over there on the left, there's a number of sites there called perimeter, or with perimeter in their name. Those sites, and ones that have the word frontier in their name, they are tagged as data and relic sites. Do not go anywhere near them in an exploration ship. They are combat sites primarily. There are some hacks on them, but the loot is really the stuff from the ships that you're going to need to kill and that will aggress you as soon as you go there. So never go in an exploration ship to a data or relic site with the word frontier or perimeter in their name. Trust me. But back to what we're doing. We've got a little bit of loot in here. It's not much. In fact, it takes us up to 471 million ISKs worth of loot in our hold. So I'm going to call it now and say our Heron is officially worth 100 times the cost of the fit, including, although they were supplied for free, the regular probes. We've not even got sisters probes, which can sometimes double the price of your Tech 1 frigate fit. But no, we've now hit 100 times the value of this little Heron. But we've got to keep going, haven't we? So I'm not allowed to nip out into K-Space and drop off any of this juicy loot. I have wondered whether to go into Nullsec and find another wormhole to go into when I've hit a bit of a dead end, in terms of I keep finding C4 wormholes which have nothing for me to hack in them. So when you're out in your exploration ship, remember you only want C1 to 3 wormholes. 3, 4s, 5s and 6s will not have anything for you to hack in your little ship at all. And the simplest and safest way of checking out each wormhole is to warp over to it at distance, as I'm about to show you, and check it out using the show info tab, because it will tell you exactly what you need to know there. Now basically, if it says this wormhole leads to unknown part of space, that is going to lead to a C1 to 3 wormhole. They're the ones we want. If it says dangerous, it's going to be a C4 or a C5 wormhole. Nothing in there for us, but we may need to go through it if it's the only good route to follow. And if it says it is a deadly unknown part of space, then that's going to be a C6. So go over to the wormhole. I warp player at 100k or 70k, just in case anything comes through or there's anything lurking at the wormhole waiting for something to come through it. And as you can see there, it tells me that that leads to dangerous parts of space. So I'll put that down as a C4 when I tag it, just so I know it's not worth going to unless it's the best route forward, as I said. The other information on here is how long the wormhole is likely to stay alive. That's the bottom paragraph or chunk of information down there. In this case, it's going to tell us that it's only beginning to decay and probably won't last another day. The wormhole has not yet had its stability significantly disrupted by ships passing through it. So this wormhole is probably going to be there for another 24 hours unless a lot of large ships pass through it, and it's the massive ships passing through a wormhole that accelerates its collapse. And the bottom line there says that larger ships can pass through this wormhole. They are size restricted. Again, for full details of all those categories and what they mean, look on the Yves Uni website. In fact, if I remember, and remind me if I don't, I'll link the page in the description down below. The remaining life of a wormhole isn't really that big a deal for me because I'm just moving forward the whole time. If you are going to need to use the same wormhole to get back out of the wormholes, then you want to make sure it doesn't say it's end of life. That means it's within 4 hours of collapsing. You could be the ship that collapses it. Also, don't go through wormholes with a micro warp drive burning. That does enhance the mass of your ship. Obviously, there are ways of fitting rigs and mods that will enhance the collapsing of a wormhole. If you're a resident, it may be in your interest to make it collapse as soon as possible, so you get a better static respawn in the place, or close one down to somewhere you don't really want coming into your wormhole. But that's how you go and check out a wormhole. The other advantage is that once you've warped over there and made that bookmark at the wormhole, when you warp to the wormhole as I'm doing now, when I've chosen one to leave through, you go straight to the wormhole. You can jump straight through. If you go to the wormhole with warp 2 from just the signature window, or from a bookmark created just from the signature window, it'll land you there at about 8k, which, as we'll see, is a little bit of a scary amount of time to potentially be there waiting to get to the wormhole within 2,500 meters to actually get through it. Now, on the way in, obviously I bookmarked the wormhole I came through, if nothing else just to save me scanning it down again. The bookmark is visible here on your little map, so you can see the signature that's near it and know that's where you came in. Also of note on dscan there, look, there are lots of customs offices owned by players. This is a busy wormhole. There's nothing in that wormhole for me. We move on to yet another C4. But first it's giveaway time. And apologies, I didn't put all the names up and I've got a bit behind with sending skins out. But on screen now, I'll have 10 winners so far from the last 2 videos for the skin giveaway. I've spent a bit of time away from home for work lately. Apologies for the delay. Anyway, this week's giveaway, if you'd like a chance of one of these skins, let me know. We're up to 100 times the value of our Heron, which is, just as a proportion, quite incredible really. It's still only 471 million ISK, of course. But in terms of scale, that's quite a lot. So tell me your stories about when you suddenly had a lot more loot than you really realised you were going to have on your hands, and you had to get it out of somewhere scary, or just a really lucky drop or discovery. I mean, I found nearly 500 million worth of fighters, didn't I? Randomly in a low-sec system after a battle. Didn't even realise they wouldn't fit in my Nereus because they were actually stacked on the dscan. But yeah, stories down below. And of course, any other thing you might have to say about the video at all. Your comments are so encouraging and supportive, and it's really great to hear that you guys have got a bit more enjoyment out of the game thanks to them. So continue to leave your comments. I really do appreciate them. Okay, back to the wormhole, and in here we have scanned down 3 C4 or 5 wormholes, which will have nothing for us to hack, a nullsec wormhole link, and obviously the wormhole we came in, which we know was another C4. So we've kind of picked one of the C4 vibes at random. I've slowed this part of the footage down just to real time. The rest has been sped up slightly as per normal. But the reason I've slowed it down is because as we land on this wormhole, having seen nobody else for about 3 hours of gameplay now, is a Tengu with combat probes out. So I reckon he might have been looking for me. I saw nothing else on my D-scan. I was the only thing on anyone else's D-scan. So combat probes are only there to find a ship. Maybe a structure, but normally a ship. that ship may be being me. So I've just got straight off that gate and warped to anywhere, set a safe. I'm going to warp straight back to that safe. I didn't even bookmark the wormhole in. I didn't want to risk anything. If he's that pre-planned to kind of know I'm there, be sat on a wormhole combat scanning me, then he might well have had a mate lingering on the other side. Do not linger when you come into contact with anybody in a wormhole. We're back up to 1.5 times speed for now. So I'm going to start scanning down what is in here. There's only 3 signatures. I know one is the wormhole I came in, even though I didn't bookmark it. So we'll get these scanned down. We basically don't want to hang around in here. As we can see from the dscan, this is quite an established system. Obviously, we're going to assume it's got active locals, more than one, so who knows who's on the way cloaked up to locate me. Now, as I showed you in the dscan video, how to locate somebody on the D-scanner before you even drop your probes, I'm going to assume that wormhole dwellers are very, very good at what they do, which is basically living off their D-scan, their probes and their cloaks. So I'm not going to linger at all. I want to find out where these wormholes are, but before I commit to using any of those wormholes, there is a mobile large warp disruptor up somewhere in this system. Now, there's no need for me to locate where it is, but I certainly need to know where it isn't. And quite a good place to drop one of those might be by one of these wormholes. There wasn't one where I came in, so I know that wormhole's clear if I need to use it again. And since there's only 3 signatures in here, it's going to be a quick process of elimination to figure out which one I came in, assuming that the other 2 aren't C1 to 3s, I guess. So as I said, I have made a video on how to use the D-scan offensively and defensively, and I'll link that at the end of this. Video, as I do on lots of my videos, but I'm sure that video doesn't get as many views as it deserves, because the D-scan is one of the most essential tools in the game. Definitely if you want to go to low sec, null sec wormholes, but even if you're a high sec miner, knowing what the D-scan's for and how to use it can help you know that gank is coming and not be there when they land. So check that out. In that video, I don't use this scanning window at all, which gives you the visual representation of the system, and in this case, that globe around us of the green is the D-scan, area. So it's also handy to be aware, if you're scanning stuff down outside your D-scan range, you've got no visibility of what might be there. You might want to bear that in mind. But for now, we want to find out if this warp disruptor is anywhere near these wormholes. And the technique we're going to use here is going to be in the probe scanning screen. We could do this in space and watch the other video to see how to do that, and the bookmark would show up in space. But this is a way to visualize what the D-scan's doing. As you can see, I've dropped the angle down on the D-scan, so it's now a cone. So that's where the D-scan is looking, is at the end of that cone, and we move that cone around by clicking up in space, holding down the mouse button, the left mouse button, and moving it around. As I say, that's shown again in the other video too. So we're pointing in completely the wrong direction, so if we just hold the screen there, spin it around till we've got that cone pointing around where we want it. You will get used to the way it moves. I prefer just doing all of this in space. I know some people like to be able to visualize it in this way, which is why I'm showing you this technique this time. And the signature will highlight once the D-scan is over it. There you go, that's the wormhole highlighted. So if we hit the D-scan there, you can see the icons flick up there for the 2 probes that we found, but what we haven't found is a warp disruption generator, which is good. So we're just going to scan down the second wormhole that's over here, just to confirm its location, make sure it's safe to go to if we decide to. And then that's going to leave us with the 3rd wormhole. Once we've checked these out, we'll probably be able to figure out which one was the one that we came through anyway, and we know there wasn't any kind of warp disruption going on there, or we wouldn't have made it here now. So let's just finalize the location of this 2nd wormhole, and then we'll just double check just in case there's anything here. I'm going to say to you guys, don't do as I do, do as I say, or whatever that saying is. I probably spent a bit long here without actually just doing a general D-scan to check there are no probes coming in on me. Let's just say I get away with it. I'm not 100% on my security here really. It wouldn't take long for somebody to locate me potentially on their D-scan, drop probes on me and have me scan down pretty quickly and be joining me on grid. Probably cloaked initially at least. So I'm getting a little bit carried away with doing this demonstration for you, which is quite like me. But then I remember I've got like 400 million, over 400 million, nearly half a billion in the cargo hold. And this isn't one of those quick pops into a wormhole with a disposable Heron like we've seen many times before. Now, as you see, when you change the angle, just so you can visualize it, those that aren't familiar, there you go. There's 180 degrees, you get half a ball. So I'm just looking over here towards this other wormhole. The range is closer. I've set the range of the dscan to only 5 AU. The wormhole is slightly further away, as we can see. I'm working on the principle, if I can pin down reasonably well the location of the generator, the warp disruption generator, and it isn't near the wormhole, then that's as good as me knowing where it is. And it just kind of, again, showing you the versatility and flexibility. So start at 180 degrees. As you locate what it is you're looking for, when it appears in the dscan, go down to the next smallest angle, move your cone around either in this scanning window or out in space to cover the areas you were looking at before. Once you've found the warp disruption generator, again bring the angle down, and you can see it's not finding it anywhere near the wormhole. So I'm not going to waste too much time pinpointing it, although I do have a go. See, it's over there. The wormhole's to the left of the cone when it's got the warp disruption generator in it. So we know where it isn't, which is good enough. We don't really need to know exactly where it is. And there you go. There's that icon popping up. Doesn't always pop up, the icon, and it's really hard to tell what it actually represents. But it's there on this scanning window when you do get something on your dscan. So I'm now confident the warp disruptor array is not anywhere near the actual wormhole. I do waste a little bit more time I didn't really need to here trying to locate it. It's over there, but I never do quite find it. I give up. But anyway, there's a little demonstration on how to use that visual dscan technique in the scanning window rather than just doing it out in space as I showed in the long video on the de-scanning techniques. But yeah, and remember, do practice all of this somewhere safe. You can do it in high sec. Just locate miners or a station or something like that using your dscan. It's exactly the technique once you are in a wormhole or in low sec, but you've learnt how to pinpoint a ship, get a rough idea where it is, scan it down, all out in high sec where there's no real threat to you whatsoever. So all that remains now is to nip over to each of the wormholes we've found and identify them as per the routine before. So we're going to warp over there at either 70 or 100 in case there's anyone lurking on the gate looking for us. Particularly relevant in this situation because I really am quite wary that there may be people around at least keeping an eye out for us, even if they're not really coming for us right now. So that one there, that's not really much good to us at all. That's a link to nullsec, so that's no good to us. We're not allowed to use it. So let's see what the next one has to offer. High sec, so we don't want to use that wormhole. That leaves the third wormhole, which must be the one we came through from the C4 before. So might be people waiting there for us because they already know we've come in through that one. So let's see. Another option would be, of course, just to log out at this stage and let them forget I was ever here. But I think with this much infrastructure in the system, I do risk it actually being busier when I log back in than it is now. Now, I hadn't walked over to this wormhole to confirm its identity. That means I didn't bookmark it here. So I'm going to land 8 kilometers off the wormhole. And I need to get through the wormhole as quick as possible. I'm going to burn over there. I don't care, the wormhole collapses behind me. Helios decloaks. He's tagged as suspect, actually, as was the Tengu. That means they've got a low security status. They are aggressive players. They're not PvEers. And he's come straight through the wormhole after me. So I've already got every wormhole bookmarked in here from when I was here. I'm just going to pick one and go. Just get out of this system, and I think once I get through this next wormhole is when I'll probably log out and let things cool down in case they do come looking for me, and then I'll come back to loot stuff another day. Once things had calmed down and I had logged out, I did look up those guys on the kill board, and sure enough I found this kill among quite a few in wormholes where they have used a T3 cruiser and an exploration frigate to take down an explorer. In that case, it was a flip round racially, it was a Proteus and a Buzzard. But there you go, that's their trick. Whether that's one guy with 2 alts or 2 guys, I don't know, I don't need to know. They didn't get me. That's all that matters. So, some frills and spills too. So I hope this video has been useful. Not a lot of loot, though we are now worth over 100 times the starting value of our ship, which is great. But knowing what's going on around you, keeping an eye, just being aware of what the stuff on your dscan kind of might represent, might mean, what you need to check before you go and warp somewhere, all of that. I hope you've learned something from this. Do look at that other dscan video because it does cover more aspects of dscanning in more depth, and enjoy your wormholing. But for now, my friends, do leave us a like down below if you have enjoyed the video and found it useful. Remember to leave your comments with your in-game name, about your wormholing adventures or your huge loot hauls that you made in quite a cheap ship. Subscribe if you want to know when the next video is out, and click that notification bell to keep up to date. And we will be back very soon, my friends. But for now, take care of yourselves and each other. Fly brave, remember even is believing, and goodbye.